Have you ever heard someone who's at a coaching session and said, "That was really nice," or "I feel so much better"? And when you ask them, what was the shift? You can't get a straight answer. And sometimes I feel that the coaching world is more obsessed with breakthroughs from a standing still start position and not really emphasizing a shift away from intellectualizing the understanding so people know what their real problem is. So when you leave a session with a temporary release, they had such a kind presence, or I felt a big release at the end. That's all great. It's all good. But what if you were to ask yourself a question? It's like, have you shifted in identity to see that the struggles that you're grappling with are not the real problem? And what I mean by this is, when you're all alone at home or trying to get things done and you have a project to complete, or you're in the office and you start doing stuff, then you get distracted and then you're trying to think, which step should you take? Which order should I do stuff in? And you just can't quite do it. And then you get into the overwhelm, then you get more frustrated, and then nothing gets done. You don't start anything. It's like you're out there trying to shovel snow and it just keeps falling, because the personal growth world, they'll have you focus on immediate results. So you'll say, "I want more money," or they say to you, "You can earn 10K or 20K, or have the best relationship in the world." But they have you focused on the wrong direction, to not distinguish between flaky breakthroughs to actually becoming the person that has a higher thermostat or frequency to sustain what you want when it comes to, say, money or relationships. And that's why my focus here is more in the repatterning, because you can't intellectualize your way out of a problem or to get new results. It just doesn't work. And this week I found myself on a call with a woman who was feeling really stuck in her job and felt she'd reached the ceiling. She was hitting a milestone, one of the big zeros, and reflecting on her life, believing options were not available to her. But this is where the mind and the heart are shown for what they truly are. Because most of the time, your mind does things that encourage you to think insecurity or lack. And it's convincing you of something, inferring that something has happened or going to happen when it hasn't happened. But when the heart gets involved, the feeling is you'll know, well, if it's a truth or a lie. So thinking about what makes a breakthrough doesn't make a breakthrough actually last. So when most people hit those unexpected blocks in real life and they're blindsided, they're like, "Wait, what? What, the banana pants? Can't believe this has happened." The breakthrough doesn't stick. And that's because they expect to be fixed with immediate results, not wired or for accelerated results. And so they become jaded on their personal growth and then give up or revert back to where they were. So they start believing that their problems are unsolvable, that they're maybe just broken, or their problem is unique because they've been promised something that has not been actualized. And that's when they go back to becoming the achiever who has done everything, and they're grinding even harder, even further into the ground. And it's not because they didn't try, but because what they're trying to do becomes so hard because they're doing it outside of themselves. They weren't shown how to stabilize this new frequency and identity. So in most cases, this might look like breakthrough, which is actually an awareness that there's a situation, but it's not stabilizing into the new identity. And there's a system that allows you to decide who you want to be, not the identity that you think is tied to what you want. So once you decide you're worthy of it, this is self-worth, and you get the heart and the mind unified to your frequency. Secret societies know this, and they have the tools that they don't share with you. They know that everything is energy in motion. So you want to be a millionaire, but it's not happening. That's because you aren't focused on unifying the heart and the mind. Because I recently worked with a marketing director who hadn't wanted to pursue her dream career for years and stayed in a job that became her biggest source of stress. And she said to me, I used to spend my entire day just spiraling after tense meetings. I would stay quiet and didn't even speak up when I felt the room needed to hear what I wanted to say. And this week I stopped. I focused on my champagne popping goal and engaged in a way that I wanted to be expressed. After I left the room and made myself some tea and got back to work, it's no narrative, just space. My colleagues were asking me, what's changed? What have I done? And also a founder that I just worked with, I tried everything, from meditation, from the usual practices. And when they walked in the room, investors were just not listening to them. They couldn't get the funding they needed for their business. And what I saw was a frequency disconnect. And when they connected with their chief how-to officer, not in the physical realm, but in the invisible realm, for the first time, they were able to have those conversations where, they said, I could feel myself fully showing up and fully self-expressed. Take Tonya, who was carrying around these stories and couldn't see the possibilities. And after we connected, she was like, whoa, there's a movement in me again. I just don't know. I just feel it. I'm safe. I know that even anything that comes up, I can deal with it. And these aren't overnight fixes because we ground and anchor in so they become non-reversible. And that matters more than any peak performance to me because this is my life. This is the work I care about. And while you may or may not relate in some shape or form, your goals may be suppressing or feeling insecure or your motivation is lagging. It's not by fixing, but by apprehending the truth to stabilizing to the new identity is shift everything entirely for you. And so when you speak powerfully and you declare who you are, you're releasing life and gaining momentum. So it's not by revealing, it's releasing, repatterning, reshaping with both the human aspect and the invisible aspect, because we are both visible and invisible. And then you're releasing that long held dream and you're grabbing your soul to walk with you. And I show you what to do in a new way. So this week, I just want you to reflect and invite you to consider this. What is the calling you're fulfilling? What does it look like? And what if breakthrough isn't the thing? What if it's how quietly your system decides not to go back?